Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, your mind caught in a quiet storm? That last breakup, the one before it, the arguments that somehow feel like they're following the same tired script, just with different faces. Maybe it's a heartbreak that hits like deja vu, or a conversation that's stuck on replay no matter who's standing in front of you. And each time, you tell yourself, next time, it'll be different. But somehow, it never is. It's exhausting, isn't it? Like you're trapped in a loop, a cycle that spins you back to the same place, no matter how hard you try to break free. And here's something wild to sit with. Research suggests that the average person repeats the same relationship mistake not once, not twice, but 5 times before they even begin to notice there's a pattern. 5 times. That's 5 rounds of heartache. 5 moments of wondering why the pieces never quite fit. But why do we do this? Why do we keep walking down the same worn paths, choosing the same partners, replaying the same fights, even when we can feel the sting coming? Is it just bad luck? Or is there something deeper pulling the strings? Well, today, we're going to peel back the layers of that mystery. We're diving into the hidden psychology behind why we get stuck in these loops, and how understanding them might just hand you the key to step out of them. Think of it like this. Sigmund Freud called it the repetition compulsion. This quiet urge inside us to revisit old wounds, hoping for a new ending. Carl Jung might point to the shadow, those buried parts of ourselves that whisper in the background, steering us toward the familiar, even when it hurts. So, if you've ever asked yourself, why does this keep happening to me? This is for you. Let's explore these unseen forces together. Shine a light on what's been hiding, and see how awareness could be your first step toward freedom. Ready? Let's start the journey. Have you ever felt like life is playing the same scene on repeat? Maybe it's a relationship that crashes the same way every time, or a fight where the words feel like they've been rehearsed. You tell yourself it's just bad luck, a coincidence, but what if it's more than that? What if there's an invisible thread pulling you back to the same moments over and over, like a record stuck on a scratch? This isn't random. It's something psychologists call repetition compulsion. Imagine there's a script tucked away in the corners of your mind, one you didn't choose but somehow keep following. It's not loud or obvious. It's quiet, subtle, like a whisper you barely notice until you're halfway through the story again. This script doesn't care about your plans or promises to do better. It's rooted in something older, something raw, old pain, old fears, maybe even a hurt you can't quite name. And here's the haunting part. Every time you act it out, there's a flicker of hope inside you, a secret wish that this time the ending might change. Sigmund Freud saw this in his patients a century ago. He watched them recreate their worst moments, not because they enjoyed the misery, but because their minds were reaching for something unresolved. It's like chasing a shadow you can't catch. Each step feels familiar, each fall predictable, yet you keep running. Why? Because your psyche is stubborn. It wants closure, even if it means replaying the wound. Look at your own life for a second. You know that friend, the one who swears they're done with chaos, yet somehow picks another partner who's distant, cold, unavailable. Or maybe it's you, noticing how every argument ends with the same lines, no matter who's standing in front of you. It's not just habit. It's your brain doing what it knows best, clinging to the familiar, even when it stings. But here's the deeper question. Why do we do this? Why does the familiar feel so safe, even when it's tearing us apart? Carl Jung might say it's the unconscious at work, dragging us toward what we haven't faced. Modern trauma experts, like Bessel van der Kolk, would tell you it's your body holding on to the past, replaying what your mind tries to bury. These loops aren't just mistakes. They're signals, clues to something you've been carrying too long. So, what if this repetition isn't just a trap? What if it's a quiet invitation to look closer, to finally see what's been hiding? Let's find out. Have you ever felt like life keeps handing you the same heartbreak, dressed up in different faces? Picture this. It's a quiet evening, and Leo is sitting in his dimly lit apartment, staring at his phone. Another friend has just canceled plans last minute, and that familiar pang of disappointment settles in. Leo is 28, a charming graphic designer with a creative spark that draws people in. He's the kind of person who lights up a room, quick with a laugh or a clever idea. But somehow, he always ends up alone when he needs someone the most. This isn't new for Leo. It's a pattern etched into his life. Friendships bloom with promise, late-night talks, shared dreams. But when he leans on them for support, they vanish. It's like a script that keeps replaying, each time with a different cast, yet the ending never changes. And the origin of this story? It goes back to when Leo was just 10, when his mother walked out, leaving behind a silence that shaped him more than he knows. Sigmund Freud, the pioneer of psychoanalysis, would call this repetition compulsion. He believed we unconsciously chase the past, replaying old wounds in the hope of fixing them. For Leo, every new friend is a chance to rewrite that childhood abandonment, to find someone who stays when his mom didn't. But here's the twist. He's drawn to people who leave, because that's what his heart recognizes as familiar, even if it hurts. Imagine trying to solve a puzzle, a piece that doesn't fit. You pick it up again and again, hoping this time it'll click. But it never does. It's the wrong piece. Leo's doing the same, reaching for connections that echo his past, not because he wants the pain, but because his subconscious is desperate for closure. It's not masochism. It's a quiet, aching attempt to heal. Does this sound familiar? Have you ever noticed a pattern in your own life? Relationships, choices, moments that feel like déjà vu? Are you replaying an old wound without even knowing it? We all carry scripts written long ago, and they pull the strings until we see them for what they are. The beauty is, awareness is the first step to breaking free. Leo's story isn't over, and neither is yours. You can rewrite the ending, but it starts with understanding the why. Have you ever wondered why you keep making the same mistakes, even when you know better? It's like there's a part of you that's on autopilot, steering you toward the same old pitfalls, no matter how hard you try to change course. Well, there's a reason for that. And it's not just bad luck or poor judgment. It's your brain doing what it's wired to do, following patterns. Here's the science behind it. Your brain loves patterns. It's not just a quirk, it's a survival mechanism. Thanks to something called neuroplasticity, every time you repeat a behavior, like picking friends who always let you down, your brain strengthens the neural pathways associated with that behavior. Think of it like a trail in the woods. The more you walk it, the clearer and easier it becomes. Over time, that path feels like the only way forward, even if it leads you in circles. Now, imagine your mind as a playlist on shuffle. You've got hundreds of songs, different moods, different vibes, but somehow it keeps landing on the same track. Annoying, right? You didn't ask for it, but there it is again, playing on repeat. That's your brain, hitting play on the same old patterns because it's comfortable there. It knows the rhythm, the lyrics, the highs and lows. It's predictable. And to your brain, predictable feels safe. But here's the catch. That comfort might be quietly wrecking your life. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's 32, smart, successful. But when it comes to relationships, she's stuck in a loop. Every partner she chooses is emotionally unavailable, distant, hard to reach, always keeping her at arm's length. She knows it's a problem. She's read the books, done the therapy, but still, she finds herself drawn to the same type of person. Why? Because her brain recognizes the pattern. It's familiar, like an old song she can't stop humming. Deep down, it's tied to her childhood, growing up with a father who was always working, always absent. Her mind is chasing that unresolved ache, hoping this time someone will finally stay. Carl Jung would say there's an unconscious force at play here, something buried in the shadows of her psyche pulling the strings. It's not that Sarah wants to suffer. It's that her brain is wired to seek what it knows, even if it hurts. And the more she repeats the pattern, the stronger those neural pathways become, making change feel like trying to swim upstream. But here's the thing. Neuroplasticity works both ways. Just as your brain can get stuck in old patterns, it can also learn new ones. It's not easy. Breaking free never is, but it's possible. It starts with awareness, with noticing the song before it finishes playing, and then daring to hit skip, even when it feels uncomfortable. Because sometimes, the only way out of the loop is to choose a different path, even if it's unfamiliar, even if it scares you. Have you ever stood at the edge of a realization so clear it feels like the ground shifts beneath you? For Leo, that moment came quietly, almost like a whisper. He'd spent years chasing friendships that slipped through his fingers, people who promised the world but vanished when he needed them most. And then one day, he saw it. Every time he chose a flaky friend, he wasn't just picking a person. He was placing a bet, a silent wager that this time they'd stay. That this time they'd rewrite the story of his past, the one where a little boy waited for someone who never came back. But they didn't. They left, and each departure carved that old wound a little deeper. Here's where the story turns, though, where the light breaks through. Leo didn't just see the pattern, he leaned into it. He asked himself a question that felt like a key turning in a lock. What if I picked people who show up? It's such a simple thought, isn't it? Almost too small to matter. But for Leo, it was seismic. He'd been reaching for the familiar, for echoes of abandonment, because it's what he knew. Carl Jung might call this the shadow at work, the hidden part of us that clings to old pain, mistaking it for safety. Leo hadn't realized there was another choice, people who stay, who meet you where you stand. This is where cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, steps in, like a gentle guide holding up a mirror. CBT isn't about endless digging or blaming the past. It's about noticing. It's a tool that says, look at the habits you've built. Are they still serving you? For Leo, it was choosing friends who flaked. For you, it might be something else. Saying yes when you mean no, chasing approval, or holding on to what hurts. CBT doesn't judge. It just asks you to dare something new. Imagine yourself at a buffet, one you visit every day without thinking. There's a spread of habits, choices, patterns laid out before you. For years, you've reached for the same stale bread, crumbly, dry, familiar. You take it because it's there, because it's what you've always known, even though it leaves you empty. Now, look further down the table. There's something else, a warm, fresh loaf, golden and inviting. It's unfamiliar, maybe even a little daunting, but it's waiting. Why not reach for it? Why not choose something that fills you up instead of wearing you down? Leo did. He started small, saying no to lopsided plans, seeking out people who showed up, step by awkward step. The shift wasn't instant, but it was real. And here's the insight that ties it all together. You're not chained to your patterns. You're just one choice away from a different story, one where you don't have to bet on someone else to heal you. You get to pick the table you sit at. Have you ever caught a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and felt a flicker of something? Something you couldn't quite name? Something you'd rather not see? Maybe it was a flash of doubt, a whisper of fear, or a memory you've tried to bury. That flicker, that whisper, it's your shadow, the part of you that lives in the dark, just out of sight. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist who dared to map the unseen corners of the mind, called this the shadow. The hidden parts of ourselves we deny, the old hurts, the secret fears, the pieces that don't fit the story we tell about who we are. We all have a shadow. It's not a flaw or a failure. It's human. But here's the thing. Ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. It just grows louder, like a song stuck on repeat, playing in the background of your life. For Leo, his shadow was a fear so deep it shaped every choice he made. The terror of being left again, just like when he was a boy, waiting for a mother who never came back. He didn't want to face it. Who would? It's easier to keep choosing the same unreliable friends, hoping one of them will prove him wrong, than to look that fear in the eye. But one day, Leo did something brave. He stopped running. He admitted to himself, quietly, painfully, that he was scared. Scared of being abandoned. Scared of being unlovable. It wasn't easy. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the void. But that moment of honesty, it was the key. Jung believed that facing the shadow is the path to freedom, to wholeness. It's not about banishing the dark parts of ourselves. It's about bringing them into the light, seeing them for what they are, and realizing they don't have to control us. So, what's in your shadow? What are you afraid to look at? Is it a fear of failure? A belief that you're not enough? Or a hurt you've never let yourself feel? You don't have to answer now, but know this. The things we hide from are the things that hold us back. And the moment you turn to face them, even if your hands shake, you take back the power. You stop being a prisoner to the past. You start writing a new story, one where you're free. Imagine standing on the shore, watching the waves crash against the sand. Each wave is relentless, unyielding, a force of nature you can't control. They come, one after another, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce, but always returning. Now picture those waves as the patterns in your life. The habits, the choices, the cycles that seem to pull you back, no matter how hard you try to break free. You can't stop them from coming. But what if, instead of fighting them, you learned to ride them? What if each wave wasn't a punishment, but an invitation to grow, to heal, to step into a bigger version of yourself? Here's the big aha moment. Those patterns aren't here to trap you. They're here to show you something. Every time you find yourself in the same argument, the same heartbreak, the same disappointment. It's not fate punishing you. It's life handing you a mirror. It's saying, look closer. There's something here you haven't faced yet. Alfred Adler, one of psychology's great minds, put it perfectly. Life's difficulties don't shape us. Our response to them does. It's not the wave that defines you. It's how you choose to surf it. For Leo, the wave was abandonment. He kept choosing friends who left, hoping one would stay and heal the ache from his childhood. But when he finally saw the pattern for what it was, an invitation to face his fear of being alone, he stopped betting on others to fix him. He learned to stand on his own shore, to ride the wave instead of letting it crash over him. It wasn't easy. Growth never is, but it was the turning point. So, what about you? What wave keeps crashing into your life? Is it a fear of rejection, a need for control, or a belief that you're not worthy of love? You can't stop the wave from coming. That's not how the ocean works. But you can learn to surf. You can choose a different response, one that doesn't pull you under but lifts you higher. Each time the pattern returns, it's not a failure. It's a chance to practice, to get better at riding the tide. The beauty is, you're not powerless. You're just one choice away from a new way of being. So, the next time that familiar wave rolls in, don't brace for impact. Grab your board, trust yourself, and ride it like you were meant to. Have you ever felt like you're living the same day over and over? Like you're caught in a loop you can't escape? That's where we found Leo, trapped in a cycle of abandonment, drawn to friends who mirrored his past wounds. But his story isn't just his own. It's a window into ours. We've walked through his journey, peeked inside the brain's stubborn love for familiar patterns, and faced the mirror of our own shadows. Those hidden corners Carl Jung described as the unseen drivers of our lives. Our brains cling to what they know. It's a survival trick, etched deep in our wiring, keeping us safe, but sometimes stuck. And the shadow? It's the quiet voice of old fears, the parts we push away, pulling us back into the same old dance. Yet, here's the revelation. You're not doomed to repeat it. Awareness cracks the pattern wide open. One choice, one moment of courage, can shift everything. Picture your life as a stage. For years, you've played the same role. The one who waits, the one who doubts, the one who settles. But you're the playwright too. You can rewrite the script, step into a new character, one that reflects who you're becoming, not who you've been. It's not easy. Change never is. As Marie-Louise von Franz, Jung's brilliant collaborator, once said, the only way out is through. Facing those patterns takes guts, but it's the road to freedom. So, here's my question for you. What's one pattern you're ready to let go of? A belief that weighs you down? A habit that dims your light? Drop it in the comments. I'm dying to hear. You're not alone in this. Every small step rewrites your story, and that's where the magic begins. What if this moment, right now, is a turning point? What if the thoughts swirling in your mind after this video are the first whispers of something deeper trying to break through? If this exploration of the psyche has struck a chord, if it's made you pause and wonder about the shadows you carry, then let's keep this journey alive. Smash that like button. It's not just a tap on the screen. It's a quiet nod to say, yes, I want more of this, more unraveling of the human soul. Subscribe if you're ready to dive deeper, week after week, into the psychology of being human. And share this with someone who needs it. A friend caught in their own silent struggle, perhaps. Let's ripple the insight outward, because awareness, as Carl Jung might say, is the spark that turns fate into choice. But here's where it gets real. Have you ever found yourself trapped in a loop? A cycle of thoughts, habits, or fears that feels like a shadow you can't outrun. Maybe it's the inner child crying out, or an archetype, like the trickster or the wounded healer, playing its part in your story. Gabor Mate once said, "What we call the personality is often a jumble of genuine traits and adopted coping mechanisms." So, spill your story in the comments below. What's your loop? Your shadow? Your words could be the mirror someone else needs to see their own truth. Imagine that. Your honesty lighting a path through someone else's darkness. Jung believed the unconscious runs our lives until we face it. So, let's face it together. Share your struggles, your breakthroughs, your questions. In this space, we're not just viewers, we're travelers on the same winding road. Where has your journey taken you lately? Tell us. Your voice might just be the key to someone's lock, or even your own.